Welcome back to Occasional Randomness. I'm your host, Eric Scott, and joining me, as always, is my fellow host, somebody who loves a good documentary, Jason Johnson.
Hey, so when does Ken Burns show up for this? That's the only documentary thing I know. So
Yeah, I mean, we don't know how long this documentary was. It could be like 20 hours, like his other stuff, but
between the minutes of 5 and 5:01, this happened.
he's a Bruder film of the more now. So this time around, we're talking about season 4, episode 17, A Constellation of Doubt. It's not exactly a clip episode. It's kind of like a flashback question mark kind of show, which does kind of flesh out more of the crew's time on Earth from the earlier episodes this season. This time shown via a TV broadcast, discussing the crew and seeing more of that footage from when they're back on it. So, and it's a lot of footage. So that's gonna be
Yeah, we did have the Chekhov's camcorder going, so I guess we should have seen this coming.
gotta make a buck somewhere, and no, actually, we don't know if he made any money. But anyway, we'll get to that. When we get there. And always our little public service announcement here. If you like what we do, give us a review or a like wherever you listen to this at. Or better yet, spread the word and let everybody else know about us. We appreciate it.
Yes, please.
Alrighty. Into Farscape Season 4, Episode 17, A Constellation of Doubt. In the real world, John's in his quarters watching a recording of a TV show called Alien Visitation. Rigel's with him and asks how many times John plans on watching it. And he tells John that he told Pilot not to tell John that they intercepted this video. John says they never even gave us a chance. Rigel asks what he expected. It's not what you expect, it's what you hope for. Rigel says Earth is a backward planet full of xenophobic superstitious morons. Yeah, almost true. Nothing makes sense if I didn't think of it first, he says. And even then, it's simplistic drivel. John kicks him out, throwing his popcorn over him to keep him out. John calls Sikozu over the comms. She has yet to find anything relating to Katratzi, the place where they think Scarrans have taken Aeryn. See last episode. And she says, as stupid as you must think Scarrans are, they have managed to build one of the most extensive empires in the galaxy, in part by not advertising the fact that they have secret bases. John asks if she's asking the right people, which makes her a little angry. She tells him if he bothers her one more time, he can come down and do it himself.
But he won't.
Because he's too busy watching this TV show. And on that TV show, the host, who says his name is R. Wilson Monroe, tells viewers that when we come back, we'll meet Aeryn's son, rumored in many circles to be John Crichton's lover. And she'll reveal a side of herself that viewers may find disturbing. Cut to that video where Aeryn tells him that from what she knows about the Peacekeepers or anybody else, they couldn't care less about Earth. Earth is not a threat, and technologically speaking, it's not even a potential ally. So if somebody wanted to enslave or destroy Earth, it could be done easily. Monroe then tells viewers that this interview has not been seen before because it was held back at the request of their own government and the UN Secretary General. He tells viewers that tonight they'll have the chance to see portions of over 120 hours of previously unseen footage, along with comments from various experts, quote unquote, and leaders. And he's joined tonight by a boy who's in the right place at the right time with the right connections. Remember him? That would be Bobby Coleman, John's nephew, who was there back when they were visiting Earth. He asks Bobby how he and the camera managed to get all that remarkable footage. And Bobby says that his family flew down to Florida when John got back to Earth. And he got to stay on for a couple of weeks with his grandpa, Aunt Olivia, and the aliens. And the aliens didn't mind you taping them, Monroe asks. No, it's pretty cool.
I'm pretty sure some of them minded.
Yeah, we might find that out. Yeah. Monroe asks how he found them, and Bobby tells him that they're normal, just like you and me. Normal, yet clearly alien, Monroe comments. Bobby says that some are more than others. Monroe asks if he ever felt threatened in their company, and Bobby says no, he didn't, and he never sensed that there was any conspiracy between them. Monroe asks why Bobby and his family waited so long to make the tapes public, and Bobby says that with all these weird accusations starting to surface, they thought it was best to keep everybody unafraid and ignorant of what's going on. We cut to footage of Dargo, filmed by Bobby, like everything else will be here. Dargo says that he's seen many movies, and in all of them, the aliens were always evil, and Earth always wins. You mean we have to learn there are good aliens? Bobby asks. No. I mean, you have to learn that you won't always win. I get some more footage where,
I thought that was a good line.
yeah, we get some more footage where Aeryn tells Bobby that humans can't even fully accept them, and they're the good ones. What about some of the next ones that come down the wormhole? Sikozu tells Bobby that the political complications that may arise from a simple wormhole floating in Earth's atmosphere will devastate a planet that is still in throes of interspecies chaos. We cut to one of the experts, Dr. Edith Anderson, a psychologist, and says that she is particularly concerned with the effects of another alien visitation on society in general. Since the aliens left, there's been a 700% increase in panic and anxiety attacks. Rigel, who, as you might expect, is stuffing his face full of food, tells Bobby if Earth is remembered at all, it will most likely be for the quality of its manual labor. Back to Monroe, who says that in culling through all the footage, there was one alien visitor in particular who never failed to excite extreme curiosity among staffers at the network, General Dargo. We cut to Bobby and Dargo on Lola. Bobby thinks the ship is cool, and Dargo tells him it's a weapon, and sometimes it kills people. Like monsters and stuff? Yes, sometimes. But sometimes it just kills those who are in the wrong place at the wrong time. And then he lets Bobby look through a recording captured by targeting array from Lola, and Bobby sees the annihilation of the rogue Leviathan from many episodes ago. Bobby's a little stunned and asks if Earth could stop them if they attacked, and Dargo says with their current defenses, no. So of course we cut to a army person, Major General Stephen Walcott, who says that the most disturbing thing about this Pandora's box they've opened is that he may be right. From what he's heard, Dargo's ship has their best and brightest utterly perplexed. Back to Dr. Anderson, who says that by indication that their current defenses could not contain him, General Dargo is performing an act of psychological terror. No, just the truth. Back on Moya, in the present, Dargo enters John's quarters and instead puts on a tape of American football that John brought back from Earth. Katratzi, Dargo says. What? Just says John. Dargo tells him that they can't find it anywhere. Pilot searched every frequency. John tells him that the Scarrans have Aeryn in a box somewhere, and he's adamant he's heard the name Katratzi before, even before Sikozu overheard it from where they said they were taking praise of. Dargo tells John he's confused, not getting enough sleep, and watching too much TV. They hate you guys, John says, of humans. Well, I liked it there. Dargo says, you see the show? No, says Dargo. Well, you should. It's educational. They're not even ready. Dargo tells John that they should move on and acquire a nearby planet. John says, nope, he knows, and tells Dargo to put the tape back in. Back on the show, Olivia Crichton says that John is now more thoughtful than he ever was. He studies everything more keenly before deciding what to do. Bobby's with John, who's sitting on some stairs at his house. He asks John what the worst part of being in space was, after jokingly saying the lack of toilet paper, which I guess is something I never thought of. But anyway.
They have 3 seashells. It's fine.
Yeah, well, they have those things for your teeth, this organic thing. So I wonder what. Anyway, never mind.
Did you ever see Demolition Man? Side note. The 3 seashells. Right. Anyway,
that's true. Yeah, right. He says really that it was missing his family. Bobby asks what was the most different when he got back to Earth, and John tells him that Earth is pretty much the same as it was when he left. Are you different? John says that he is, and things that used to bother him don't anymore. The world seems smaller, and he keeps waiting for something to happen, and when it doesn't, he has to remind himself that this is normal. Dr. Anderson says that this is post-traumatic shock syndrome. She says it's hard to tell without examining him, but from the snippet of the tape, she's concerned about his constantly waiting for something to happen. This suggests he's under enormous and continuous stress. Yeah, for 83 episodes now.
Pretty much.
We'll cover that soon. Back on Moya, real time, Chiana catches Sikozu taking a break from searching for Katratzi. Sikozu tells her that no one's ever heard of it, and she's been done for Arns. Pilots double check, but no one at all has heard of it either. Well, they must be lying, Chiana says. No, Chiana, they're not lying. Chiana tells Sikozu not to lie to John, so Sikozu gets angry and storms off, telling Chiana to try, because she's done. Back on the video, their auntie tells Bobby that she likes that humans are always striving to reach higher, hoping for a better tomorrow. She cites that as the quality that first attracted her to John. She adds that humans are so ignorant, but never give up, even in the face of insurmountable odds. A new talking head, Dr. Fletcher, encourages us to listen to what Narenti is saying about us. Humans never give up. For that to become impressed upon the alien mind, the simple fact that we would tend to take for granted ourselves becomes validation that we eventually will fit in, never give up. Olivia says she's actually really spiritual, You should hear her stories about religions of all the worlds she's visited. Really an eye-opener. So much cruelty and so much kindness. And now we cut to Ranty asking Bobby what constitutes a good religion. She then talks about his religion justifying killing. Dr. Fletcher says that Narenti is not wrong about humans having a history of and culture of killing, and that we continue to wallpaper with justifications and platitudes. He sees nothing wrong with what she's saying. Narenti says that killing is often part of life. What's hypocritical is to condemn and then to make allowances when the situation suits it. So it's okay to kill? Asks Bobby. Absolutely, she says. Sometimes you must. Cut to Reverend Nathan Buckley, a religious leader, and comments that if her religion justifies killing, then she's not somebody who wants telling them what to believe. On the other hand, another religious person, Ivan Chanderpaul of the Federation of American Buddhists, says that there's never an occasion when murder is allowable. Life is the font of all that we hold with respect. A general of the U.S. UN Space Command says, after she's had to kill somebody, then I'll accept her pronouncements. Bobby asks her if religions hate each other where she comes from. Oh, no, they don't. Good heavens. She replies. She says religions are grand, lofty ideals, but religious followers are another story. Wars, Bobby asks. Unspeakable. So not so different, he comments. Nah, that's nothing to be proud of, she tells him. Then we got Aeryn telling Monroe in the interview that while cultures and civilizations may vary wildly, from societally primitive to hyper-mechanized, there's still surprisingly a uniformity in the way that people conduct themselves. Essentially, wherever you go in the universe, we're all the same. And that way, Earth is no different from other planets. He asks her if species from other worlds have relationships, marriage, and children, and says, yes, they do, but there's limits. Genetic patterns have to support such a union. He asks if a Sabacean such as Aeryn could procreate with a human male. John rewinds the tape and listens to that question again, but Aeryn pauses before answering. Then John sees a vision of Aeryn saying that she believes Katratzi to be a highly guarded base, as they would have taken the base anywhere else less secure. He rewinds the tape again, and Aeryn tells Monroe she was just thinking and says that there's no way to be sure, but their physiologies do appear to be very similar. We get some more footage of Bobby filming through a crack in the door. Olivia's asking John if he'll be okay. He says he'll be just fine, just never the same. She sees through that, knowing he has feelings for Aeryn. He asks what his tell is, and she says that his lips soften when he sees Aeryn. Well, she's got a word for us, he tells her. It's called yesterday. Olivia says that Aaron's tell is her eyes. She's waiting for him. Back on Moya, as John continues to watch the video, standing by his door, Channa comes along. John tells her she knows this word Katratzi. She says no, but John says it's not a question. He tells her that she heard it with him, only from Sokozu. No, with me, John insists. Back on TV, Aaron's putting Christmas presents under the tree. Janet asks John when he'll give up, as he has to sometime, but he says he doesn't. Olivia takes over on camera so she can shoot Bobby and Aeryn together. Well, where do we find her? Janet asks. We find her, John replies. Janet says he could go back to Earth, but he says not without Aeryn. Monroe says that occasionally on these tapes of footage, despite the similarities, they came across a moment that seemingly unites them across the endless chasms of space. And this time we cut to footage of Bobby filming Shanna, who is cuddling a dead rat. She's upset and says that he was her friend, and they stop just outside the kitchen and he ate something. Olivia says that the more time you spend with Shanna and the others, the more you realize that we're not all that dissimilar. Bobby's not filming Dargo and says that he didn't think he'd like Earth at first, but he does. It reminds him of his planet 10,000 cycles ago, undisciplined and adventurous. Dargo then tells Bobby that there are better things to do with your life than become a warrior. Bobby asks if he's ever killed anybody with his tongue. No, Bobby, my tongue just contains adaptive venom. The victim takes only enough in to lose consciousness. No one dies. And despite Bobby's pleadings, he won't let him see it. Bobby then tells Dargo that thought he was great on David Letterman, and Dargo replies that he thought everybody was laughing with him. Then we cut to Morrow saying that for every instance where we may be lulled into accepting the alien visitors as nothing more than peculiar-looking versions of people we know on Earth, there comes another moment on these startling videotapes that seemingly shatters any illusion of potential coexistence. Now we cut to footage of Bobby following Dargo on down the corridor on Moya. He keeps pleading with Dargo to tongue him, and Dargo finally agrees, telling him not to tell anybody and turn off the camera. Bobby, of course, does not do that and puts the camera on the ground, and Dargo knocks him unconscious. Dr. Anderson says that she would like to see these sorts of encounters prevented from happening outside a research facility. Jennifer Paul says that the boy did not die. He's now wiser. Dr. Anderson says that aliens cannot have run of our planet until we know more about their physiology and psychology. Speaking of which, we cut to Bobby filming Channy in the bathroom. She's got makeup all over her face. and eats some lipstick, asking Bobby about the makeup as she continues to play around with it, and asking why it comes in so many different colors. Paul says that one must look past the physical and see the spiritual side. He says that Shanna condemns materialism and waste, a highly evolved outlook. Dr. Edmund Johnston, a professor of cognitive behaviorism, says that Shanna's perspective is consistent and well thought out, and in his view, correct. Shanna's now at the toilet, talking about other water rooms like this she's seen. On Moya, she and Weigel are watching the video also. Shanna asks Bobby why a person might need a single room with so many different places where water comes out. She tells Bobby you only need one, and he can even wash up in the toilet if necessary, and reaches in and washes her face with the toilet water. And then she asks Bobby why he's looking at her like that. Dr. Aniston says that we're looking at a very young, disturbed alien girl. Bishop Murphy Vasco says that this woman should not be allowed near any impressionable children. She's clearly dangerous, troubled, and a bad influence. That's about 100% correct. She turns off the TV in disgust. Rigel tells her that he's sick of this popcorn and sick of those humans. I just feel sorry for Crichton, Shanna says. She tells him that Katratzi gave her the stuff to help John sleep and asks if she should bring it to him. No, give it to me. Shanna blows some in Rigel's face. Feel sorry for Aeryn, he says. He'll get over it. No, I don't think he will, Rigel, she replies. No matter how long it takes, I don't think he'll lose hope. John again sees a vision of Aeryn talking to him through the TV set. She talks about Katratzi. It wouldn't have taken Graza anywhere less secure, she says. Back to more footage of Bobby filming Rigel, who's watching American football and eating lots and lots of junk food. When asked, he says the best thing about Earth is sugar. Where he comes from, it's used as a poison, but here, you can get it everywhere. Dr. Fletcher says that Rigel seems to understand human culture better than we're willing to admit. As an outsider, his views are a prismatic tool for us to perhaps examine ourselves. Now we cut to Monroe saying that a little-known fact about this story is that there's at least one person that makes a credible claim that aliens have been here before. In 1985, mere months before the Challenger disaster, he welcomes Robert Schellmacher, former sheriff of Orlando, Florida. He tells Monroe that they were here before, all ears and tentacles. He shows Monroe the carved pumpkin he made, referring to their leader. Monroe says that in the sheriff's defense, way back in 85, he filed a report with the FBI, giving what they now realize are fairly accurate descriptions of Dargo, Laurenti, Aeryn, and Rigel. Monroe says that these files are sealed and no one in government will speak of their contents on the record. The sheriff says that they first kidnapped the young Crichton, then sabotaged the space shuttle program. They grounded us, he says. Then they installed tiny microchips in each of their brains, and it shows Monroe a cap lined with metal foil that keeps the signals out.
Because that always works.
Yeah, about the alien mind control. Monroe asks what he thinks the signals are telling us. Eat fatty foods, he says. He says that you see their puny alien leader talking about fat, and that's the human downfall. We get fat, we can't move, they defeat us, he says. It's that easy to take over our world. Monroe points out that the sheriff spent most of the last 18 years in this institution, that the sheriff insists he saw them and knows their plan. Look at me, I'm lean, I'm undefeatable. And we cut to some footage aired of Shanna dancing. She asks Bobby what he thinks of sex, out of curiosity. She's shocked when he hasn't had it yet. He says he's 13. It's against the law. Shanna says, that's frailed. Who cares when you have it? Bobby says, his mom. But Shanna asks, why then? All the girls are wearing all this clothes. Bobby says they see it in magazines and stuff. And Shanna says that somebody sold them the clothes, so somebody wants them to have sex. Shanna Paul says that there's an innocence about Shanna that is wonderfully contagious. Bishop Vasco calls her straightforward approach towards sexuality outrageous and disgusting. Olivia says not to make too much more of it than it actually is, saying it wasn't coming on to Bobby. Dr. Walker thinks it was rather innocent. I mean, you get more juice on Dawson's Creek than this.
That's not wrong.
Yeah, this is also true. The next footage is of Bobby talking with Sakozu on Moya, where she lets him use the comms and talks to John. John's working in Australia. As Bobby talks to him, Sakozu walks down a wall. Hey, remember she can do that? Dr. Hamilton comments that he met Sakozu and had no idea she could defy gravity. Dr. Essen says that there is nothing about Sakozu that, in her opinion, is not infused with anger and disdain. E.T., she is not. Back on Moya, in real time, Sakozu asks Pilot if he thinks it's worth continuing. Pilot says that despite his strong feelings for Aeryn, he does not. Sakozu says she'll tell Crichton and arrives at his quarters. We can't find Aeryn. We can't locate this Katratzi. No one's even heard of it before. I've heard it, John insists. He says he heard it on this ship. Somebody said it. When Sikozu tries to leave, John's emotions erupt and he goes to a rage, pulling her back into the room, demanding she tells him what she knows. She insists she hasn't lied, but John accuses her of doing nothing but lying since she boarded the ship. He pulls his gun out, adding that he will not let Aeryn die and demands to know what Katratzi is. Sikozu screams at him that it's not her decision if Aeryn lives or dies, and he has to deal with the fact that he may have lost Aeryn forever. In the silence that follows this outburst, John looks back at the TV where Sikozu is singing while examining a metal cooking tin that at one point covers half her face. Suddenly, a memory comes up, and John rewinds the tape, pauses it on the frame where the metal excludes her face. He remembers a moment back in an unrealized reality just before he shot the Sikozu Stark hybrid. Just before he shot, Sikozu Stark said the word Katratzi, which at the time seemed like a random gibberish word. He turns to a confused Sikozu, apologizes, turns off the TV, and walks out of the quarter. John's in Pilot's den asking if he still knows the location of the wormhole to Earth. Pilot says yes, so John asks him to plot a course. Dargo walks in, and Pilot says he'll have to ask the captain. John tells Dargo it's complicated. Dargo says he understands, and Pilot chimes in to remind him that Moya is now phobic regarding wormholes. John tells him he just needs to get close enough to take his module in there and not go back to Earth. Dargo says, no, I'm not. It's complicated. Monroe closes up the TV show, saying that the network calls upon this government to release all files pertaining to Officer Schellmacher's allegations of past visitation or any other related matter. He says when the aliens return, and they will, he urges an aggressive quarantine until the true nature of their presence is ascertained. Recall the same extraterrestrials that we behold with wonder as they learn our language and dance to our music also bear weapons, as well as potential illnesses which could destroy us. Alien visitation is a reality. They've been here once. We seem to have dodged the bullet. The truth is, there will be a certain the next time. At Moya, Scorpius is lying in his room. John raps at his door saying, you set me up. Not that I care. I don't care about much. War, death, and wormholes. I don't care about the things you care about. Peacekeepers rule Scarrans. Scarrans rule the peacekeepers. Let them roll together. Put your ass in a cage. I don't care. I only care about one thing. And I think I'm going to need your help, Mr. Scarran Half-Breed, to get Aeryn back. Help me get her, and I will give you wormholes. I have an idea how to find the Scarran base. Aeryn for wormholes. That's the deal. John leaves the room as Scorpius rises and looks towards the door. The end.
Dun, dun, dun.
Stuff's happening. Finally. All right, so there's lots of trivia about this episode, which you'll see why in about 10 seconds. First off, Aeryn and Arenti only appear in the visitation TV segments of this episode. And it was near the end of production of this episode that the cast and crew were informed of the series cancellation, the actual season finale having been filmed earlier than this episode.
That's not confusing.
That's how TV works, I guess.
Yeah.
The fan-based movement to save the series was already underway by the time the final scenes were shot. Most of the cast and crew were made aware of this cancellation immediately, but Andy Tupu was en route to a sci-fi convention in the US and didn't hear about the cancellation until a fan told him about it. The news came down with only a couple of shooting days left. The scene between John and Olivia on Moya was the final one to be filmed during the series run, and was filmed in September 2002. It took 4 takes. The scene with Chiana in the bathroom was Gigi Edgley's final scene as Chiana. Knowing this, she tried to do as many different things as she could to make it the best possible Chiana scene in the whole series. Claudia Black's final scene was the one in the kitchen when she makes a sandwich while talking to Bobby. Executive producer David Kemper played the mysterious Mr. X panelist, while creator Brian Henson played Professor Edmund Johnston. The script for this episode was 116 pages long. Normally, they're about 58 pages long. So as a result, this episode had lots of deleted scenes and extended takes, many of which are included as extras on the DVD release. This episode shakes up the timeline suggested by Terra Firma, the prior episode, when they're on Earth, by establishing that the Moya crew were on Earth for much longer than suggested in the episode, perhaps weeks or even months, during which several of them toured at least South America, and both Aeryn and Dargo appeared on TV. In addition, this episode establishes that at least 6 months have passed since the Earth visit, or at least 6 months since Aeryn's video interview. It's not explained how the majority of the people of Earth would understand the language of Moya's crew without translator microbes or subtitles. More on that in a minute. Dr. Adrian Walker reacts to footage of Sikozu walking down the wall by saying, "Oh, this is almost certainly a deliberate reference to the fact that Nicholas Hammond, who played Walker, was the first actor to play Spider-Man in the live action television film and series back in the 1970s.
It's funny how tenuous webs connect all these TV shows.
Small world acting. All right. So, what did you think of this? Not really a clip show, but kind of a flashback episode. Uh, if in real life aliens came to Earth like Moira Crew did, and it all played out just like it did for them, do you think this was like an accurate kind of TV show that would have been made with accurate panelists and their opinions and comments?
I think so. What it really made me think of, and I had in my head the whole time, was the TV show that Peter Venkman hosted at the beginning of the Ghostbusters 2 movie, where he was doing like the psychic show or whatever. But anyway, yeah, I did. I enjoyed it. I think it was you're bound to get a clip episode at some point in the show's run. I know this is more new scenes, but kind of flashing back to the previous thing, it kind of felt like a clip episode. It it didn't, and I'm sure we'll dive into this as we go. It didn't advance the plot a whole lot, but it was enjoyable. The trivia did make me just think also, by the way, how pregnant is Aeryn at this point? Because if this was 6 months, she should be seriously pregnant by now, right?
Yeah, I think she said at one point Sebastians either have a way or peacekeepers have a way of like keeping a fetus like in suspended animation, sort of so to speak, like not growing somehow. So I guess when she wants to be pregnant, she will be. I guess, uh, or wants it to develop, it will. Like otherwise, it just kind of is just there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think it was back when they were on the command carrier, like with it was the end of last season. I think she mentioned it there or something.
Yeah, I think you're right now that you say that. I'd forgotten that, but I guess they did kind of give them an out so they could stretch it out as long as they needed to.
Yeah. Plus, yeah, it makes it easier on the shows, I guess. Just stretch it out as long as you can. But yeah, I like it too, and it had its laughs throughout, so it was entertaining as Farscape is. But yeah, it only kind of slightly barely moved the plot along of the overall season. Crichton eventually gets the idea where to go to find this Katratzi, and in the end makes this literal deal with the devil of Scorpius. So that's kind of we'll get into that here at the end here. Yeah, I mean, otherwise, yeah, it was just a fun look at how Earthlings, or at least the half dozen we saw as experts, quote unquote, on these panel shows, dealt with interacting with aliens and technology. And kind of fun to see more about the crew did while they're on Earth that we didn't get in the prior episode. And yeah, I agree that the comments made by the panelists would probably be 100% the range of comments that would really happen. So I guess good job by the writer.
Yeah, and I'll agree with you. Since we were dealing with a lot more character clips and moments, I did enjoy them. We've come so far with these characters that it's always fun to see them in their fish out of water scenarios. But yeah, kind of ready to go forward and see where we go from here, though. So
Yeah, now knowing what we know with trivia after the fact, yeah, it makes these last character moments even more special because they were really, really the last character moments filmed.
yeah, especially not knowing that they were going to get anything else. So
Yeah. All right. So the one major nitpick I have to get out of the way first, and which is the only nitpick of this whole episode, like the trivia said, and we even talked about during the Terraform episode podcast, how does everybody understand the crew without microbes, translator microbes? I doubt the crew got crash courses in English and were speaking English to everybody. But hey, for anybody that's watched science fiction at any kind of time of sci-fi TV history, languages, they don't matter. As otherwise, it's just constant subtitles, and that's really annoying. So, okay, fine.
yeah, and it could have probably stood to have a throwaway line somewhere, like we kind of probably covered last time. But you know, I think at this point in the show, most of the people have forgotten about the translator microbes and are just kind of rolling with the characters. So, what's one more?
It's sci-fi. It's what we do. We all talk English. Deal
Yeah.
with it. Yeah, since there's not really plot lines per se in this episode, like well, except for the one plot line, finding Katratzi, which we'll talk about at the end. I guess we'll just kind of talk about each of the crews, the flashbacks or whatever vignettes, whatever I call. So let's, I guess, get kind of the least used out of the way here. So first up, Sakozu. Not much of her in the TV show at all. Although, like the trivia said, the script was twice as long as usual, so maybe some of her scenes were cut out. I don't know. I don't have the DVD, so I can't tell you. So her main thing was just reminding us, the viewers, that she can walk down walls by changing her center of gravity, which she hasn't done much about that at all. And it was cool after the fact, which I didn't know at the time, that the one panelist was Nicholas Hammond, the literal OG TV Spider-Man. So now that makes his comments even more funny than when I first watched the episode.
Yeah, and I'll agree. Yeah, I think we've struggled. I've commented before that I think the writers struggled all season to know what to do with Sikozu. Right? I mean, they paired her up with Scorpius, but since Scorpius's plot / actions are so like slow rolled, she just kind of gets set to the side and she's there. But what do you do with her? So she's definitely one of the least used characters I think of the season. Naranti's had more scenes, I think, than she did.
At least what survived in this episode of the cut stuff. Yeah. Which, speaking of which, she actually had some good scenes this time. I don't quite understand why she said that the rats wanted her to make rat poison, which I guess does then play into Channa's scene later. But okay. And I guess she went to South America, she says, to look for ingredients for potions, and apparently healed or did who knows what to people down there. And a later commentator said that there were miracles and yet to be figured out. That she made someone blind see again, something like that. So, yeah, which again, that's the typical sci-fi trope, right? You know, the aliens have better medical knowledge, like Star Trek 4, McCoy was at the San Francisco hospital or something, and gave an old woman like a pill and it regrew her kidney because she was on dialysis, right? It's just like that in like minutes, she was cured. So
Yeah, and it gives you a chance to play with the miracles versus science, even if it's just a real quick throwaway line in this case. But we all can read between the lines there. It could almost be enough to make me start locking. No, not really. Never mind.
well, come on, she's fun. She's the crazy aunt of this or
Yeah,
something like that. I
or
don't know.
something like that. And again, I think as a character on the show goes, she's not my favorite of the crew, but they have done a better job this season of not making her useless, and I'll give them credit for that.
I was just thinking if Zan was still part of the crew, I wonder how her scenes would have gone like, with this. But anyway, yeah, be interesting. And yeah, I guess her main scene, apart from the rat thing, was talking about how other religions in the galaxy and that it's okay to kill sometimes, which of course sets off lots of the commentators as we talked about. Not to get too much into the topic, as that's a whole can of worms, but I think pretty much the reactions of the panelists are pretty much what I would expect. Which, if you think about it, religion and other topics that were brought up in the episode would be stuff that would be asked of aliens, right? To see how it compares with Earth.
Yeah, I mean, I think exactly that. That if you're given the opportunity to ask those questions of somebody who would have knowledge we don't have, then that'd be one of the first things you'd want to ask. And it does kind of circle us back to while I don't watch a lot of those type of shows, I can see where these would be the type of commentators you would get for that type of show, right? I guess that makes me think more of like the 80s and 90s documentary things that have been popular on Hulu and stuff for the last little bit, reliving our past whatever.
Yeah, so it's always kind of fun to sometimes look at like a snapshot of time or like what people's thoughts were or opinions were, 20, 30, 40 years ago, versus what they are now. Because, things shift and sometimes it stays the same. Sometimes you're like, yeah, we're much better now. Or, oh, we're much worse now, depending on which way you want to go.
Exactly.
And Rigel, not much with him this time either, other than, of course, the continuous fun of him forging himself on things, in this case, especially sugar. Again, oddly enough, he says it's used as a poison where it comes from, which doesn't stop him from like eating all that he can get his hands on. So you eat poison at home, Rigel? But anyway, whatever. It's funny.
Rigel
I'll
probably
take it.
would. So
Yeah, I mean, if it tasted good, I think he would eat it. I think no matter what it is.
even crackers.
Yeah, that don't matter. And of course, his like of gambling and females, which apparently on Earth he can do over the phone, uh, which I guess is some more meta commentary on the state of the world, circa 2002.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of neat, right? Because this gives us a chance to see. We're watching a show from that time period, so we have a time capsule inside of a time capsule of our society in that time period.
It was weird 20 years ago, and it's still weird 20 years later. Yeah.
Yep.
And getting to some people that had some more scenes. As Shanna definitely has some good scenes here. Of course, she talks to Bobby about her favorite topic, sex, which of course, talking like that to a minor, of course, sets off the commentators as you would expect. And again, I guess it was the writers kind of Star Trekian, let's do a commentary about society kind of episode where he gets more meta commentary on sexy clothing and selling it to kids, which, is, you can argue that even today. And yeah, and that and religion set off all the commentators. And what sex and religion being provocative topics? Who the fuck?
Yeah, I guess if it was the 80s and not the 2000s, I'd say this was we know the show's ending, so we have to end on a PSA. Knowing's half the battle type thing here. So,
hey kids, don't wear sexy clothing.
Exactly.
Just say no to.
This is your brain. This is your brain on whatever
on clothing, and makeup. But yeah, kind of her two best scenes were with the dead rat that she called, her friend, and dead again thanks to the ranty poisoned him earlier.
I probably wouldn't tell Chiana that.
Yeah, but it was nice and touching, and points out that even aliens like soft furry creatures for companionship.
Yeah, CD and Alien, the episode.
Yeah, the best scene with her was in the bathroom, which I guess again is more meta commentary on women and makeup. Was her eating the lipstick was funny. And then we got her asking why there's so many places for water to come out in this room, and washes her face with toilet water, which again, much to the dismay of the commentators.
Yeah.
But they're kind of spot on in saying that she's dangerous, troubled, and a bad influence. And then, of course, we cut to her getting a little perturbed and turning off the TV program. So that's kind of funny.
Yeah. And, maybe sometimes the analysts can get something right. Like we said earlier, knowing from the trivia that these were the final scenes that they got to film, it makes sense that these are such really good scenes, like especially this Chiana one. So I mean, this is her at her peak, Chiana-ness, and yeah, going out with the bang, or at least a good scenes.
Yeah, well, yeah, final chance to add to your character depth, and there you go. So yeah, so on to our big three members, I guess. Aeryn first. So in one segment, the first segment we see, she says the peacekeepers don't care about Earth. It's not a threat. It's not an ally. If they wanted to take over us, take over if they could. No problem. Then they talk about how human-like civilizations are, and if they could procreate with humans. Aeryn hesitates, I guess, and says, "Yeah, maybe it's possible." Which I would say that. Why would you say she's carrying John's baby? That really probably would not have gone over very well and not accomplished anything except to cause even more controversy or panic or conspiracy theories or whatever. So that's probably a good decision to leave it vague.
Yeah, and I have to admit, this scene had me worried that we were going to kick off a whole "it's not John's baby" discussion. So I'm glad I was wrong on that, and they just kind of slid past it, because I was watching this going, oh no, with her hesitance, that's going to make him think something, and we're going to start that whole rabbit hole.
Yeah, and then if you want to really blow their minds, you could have said, well, it really was another John, which was his exact identical genetic copy, but it wasn't. So which one is the real John?
Yeah. Yeah, we've actually killed John at some point, and this is a duplicate that we can't even tell the difference. So maybe we didn't kill John. Who knows? So
Yeah,
maybe it's like a transporter, and the real one died at the time they were split, and both of these are not the real one. So
that's right. We'll never know because the series is over.
Oh, spoiler.
When this is filmed, yeah. When this is filmed, yeah. And then Dargo has a bunch of scenes, and I think he's pretty much the one that drew the most attention of Earthlings, probably for two main reasons. One, he's the most intimidating and alien-looking of all of them. And two, Lola. The more the military saw of that footage, more could probably make people skittish and worry that this is your typical Hollywood alien that would come and attack Earth. And of course, Darrow was saying that Earth couldn't even stop his ship if they decided to attack. I mean, that alone, would set people off. Then we got Dargo telling Bobby unconscious at Bobby's own request, I might add.
Yeah, he
Just to
signed
see
the
what it
consent
feels like.
form.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. Sign the NDA and you can say. And apparently Dargo was on David Letterman, which is kind of funny. But so maybe that helped put the thoughts of his issues just aside or put it to rest. And I mean, he says he was getting laughs with him, not at him. So,
But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, are you gonna
Dar-
laugh at
Dargo the
him?
celebrity, Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, you got Dargo there. Nobody's gonna laugh at him. But yeah, definitely good scenes. Good finish on his part. Good job, crew overall. These were good scenes.
And then finally, Crichton, not much footage of him other than saying he's missed his family and the world feels smaller. And he keeps waiting for something to happen, which is kind of funny how the commentator says that that's signs of PTSD and he's been under enormous and continuous stress. And again, from the meta standpoint of this episode, that's true. Every week for the last 83 episodes, something's happened to John. So, yeah, I can imagine he would be slightly skittish and have fluid emotions from happiness to rage to whatever. So,
Yeah, I mean, maybe a unintentionally ironic commentary, but on action shows in general, right? I mean, to watch any TV show almost really that's not like even reality shows now. These people have to be messed with to have their lives generate episode content for us to consume. So nobody wants to watch somebody happy and not under some sort of stressful situation.
yeah, because even I think even on this show that they needed time to go relax. They have episodes where they're relaxing and stuff because of things are going crazy, and other like episodic TV shows they've had scenes or shows where the crew has to go rest or recover because it's just too much. Like it's too much going on. Which every week it's
Yeah, but
every
usually even those relaxation episodes have to have something go wrong for them to have to
exactly
solve.
right.
So there is no relaxation. It's just something has to happen because it's a TV show.
And it would be kind of not fun to watch your characters falling apart because they have reached a breaking point. Which some shows do that too to do more drama. But you don't want to have your big heroes freaking out all the time. And yeah, he keeps seeing visions of Aeryn through the TV show. It didn't really happen, but it's just his visions talking about Katratzi, and he keeps swearing to others that they've heard it too, and which we of course know where he's heard it from. Then he finally figures it out that it was from one of those unrealized realities he went through a few episodes ago. And it was a really kind of awkwardly scary scene with him threatening Sakozu with the gun before he realizes all that. I thought that was kind of a well done little scene. And I guess does kind of go back to what you said of him being under constant stress and not dealing with it very well. So there you go. He's had this little whatever break, tantrum, whatever. But now he knows where Katratzi comes from. So he wants Dargo to go back to the nearest wormhole so he can go figure it out. But then they save the best for last, obviously, because that's how TV shows work. He goes and visits Scorpius and agrees to give him wormhole knowledge in exchange for helping get Aeryn back from the Scarran base. And I couldn't tell the look on Scorpius' face when John left after saying that. If that was like disbelief, surprise, happiness, all three. I don't know. Do you think maybe because John says he set him up? So do you think this is some part of what Scorpius has been planning all season, like what John hinted at, or is it just John just being paranoid?
It, I don't see how it could be, but to be fair, I also don't see yet what John's plan is. So who knows? Is kind of where I'm at on that. I haven't. Yeah, as much as I've enjoyed a lot of the episodes in this season, I think intentionally I'm not tracking Scorpius's plan. Like now, I'm not tracking John's plan. And but if I'm going to be honest, maybe it's just my memory because I had totally dumped that was the same word as the Katratzi from the wormhole world alternate reality thing where she was Stark. Like that totally escaped my brain. But seeing the bowl or whatever up next to her face that made it covered and kind of look Starkish was a really good scene. I really liked how they kind of had that be the break that got him to where he needed to be.
Yeah, because with Braca being Scorpius' spy on Grace's ship, which I guess Braca thought he was dead, but when he figured he wasn't dead, did he fill him in on the meeting with the Scarrans? And he set up something to try to get Aeryn captured too, so that John would have to ask him to help. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of like how far down that the conspiracy rabbit hole can you go, or is it just like, oh, it just happened, and John is just you know misconstruing things at this point? I don't know.
Well, everything's got to be Scorpius's fault when he's under stress. So,
Yeah, I mean, that's your default reaction because yeah, it's got to be because why else would bad things happen, right? If it wasn't because of
well,
Scorpius.
and speaking of
Which has
PTSD,
been
I mean, he's still got,
mostly true for the last 4 episodes, for the last 4 seasons. But
yeah, I mean, he's still got Harvey PTSD or HSTD or whatever. So,
yeah, right.
living with that thing in his brain.
So, yeah, so we'll see what happens. We'll see if that's revealed in the next couple episodes or if it's just a coincidence.
Yeah. So speaking of next episodes, what's next?
Yeah. So speaking of that, next time we'll cover season 4, episode 18, Prayer, and play our usual guessing game of what does that mean? Episode title mean? By itself doesn't mean much. If you include it with like the first thing I thought of the phrase "on a wing and a prayer," which if he's going to take Scorpius through unrealized realities, looking for Katratzi, that's a long shot. So he'll need all the luck and divine guidance he can get. And if that is true, that they're going to go back and try to find that reality where Sokosu Stark mentioned that, it'd be kind of cool to see some of those realities that we saw before. Seeing if there's any reference of his last trip there, or maybe he'll go to new realities. They have that same word, and they're all crazy and weird, which is the fun part of those episodes, seeing how he just play with the crew and the timelines, and then just mix things up and just go crazy, have some fun because why not, right? So
Yeah, were
we'll
they going
see.
to do fire him?
Yeah. Well, they already shot them too, apparently, if this was the last show film. So they already knew what was going to happen. What they did.
Yeah. The only thing I could come up with was maybe like a reference to the desperation to, has to get her back. Or, since John's not terribly religious, maybe, it relates to the level of a chance to get Aeryn back. Like you don't have a prayer of getting something done. So I don't know. I was being a little pessimistic, I guess, when I thought about that.
We'll find out next episode if they finally find where Katratzi is, because again, they ain't got much longer to go here. So 4
Yeah,
more episodes after this next one. So
yeah, we're in the final sprint. So
if it's gonna be a multi-parter finale, then really they've only got 2 or 3 episodes left to do something, and then go into the big ending. So gotta start wrapping things up here.
wow, we're getting that close, huh?
Yeah, it's been a long road getting there to here. Oh, wait, wrong show. Different show.
But our time is finally here. So
That's right. On that reference to another episode of another series of fiction, we will leave that there, and that's your homework for next time. And we'll see you then. Goodbye.
goodbye.